No,
So
so
when you were, when you signed on for Ready to Rumble, was this already the idea? Was WCW already on board that you would start to do some sort of crossover promotions on Nitro?
I don't know. Like in the movie, like I end up being the Law, and I go out, and you know what I mean. I'm a
Yeah,
wrestler.
I
I
went to
beat.
theaters and saw that movie.
Right, right. Awesome. So I was like, oh, that's funny. Like it's kind of life imitating art, like a silly little thing, and they'll bring me in. But no, they just brought me in for the first thing. I was just supposed to kind of get involved. I don't even remember what it was. I think I jumped and tried to save someone, and Jeff Jarrett, like, you know, gave me his finisher. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, well, it kind of just steamrolled. Oh, one of the things was I was walking around backstage with one of these little like kids wrestling belts, and I
Yeah.
was having all the guys sign it because I am a fan. And then Vince Russo saw that, and I think that's maybe where the little germ of the idea came from. He's like, oh, he's a fan. He's really a fan.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So I don't know.
So when Vince Russo and I guess Eric Bischoff as well come up to you and say, all right, David, here's the plan. You're going to win the world title. How does that conversation go?
It was actually DDP. And then he came up. I said, so what's the plan for today? And he's like, you're going to be the champ. I'm like, shut up. No, really, what are we doing? And then he's like, no, seriously. I was like, what? You can't do that. That's crazy. And he explained to me, it's like, well, listen, I don't recall him saying you don't have to do it, but I think he may have, as he said, like, if you don't do it, then it's all over. The Ready to Rumble's over. The promotion of it's over. You won't be coming with us. But if you do it, then you stay to the pay-per-view. And I think this is a combination of him explaining it and Vince Russo. And he's like, and I was like, I get to like stay with you, like do this whole thing till the pay-per-view? Because I was only supposed to be on a 1 or 2. Like the first thing I did got a pop, so then the second time they brought me back. And that might have been the time that I don't know. But they said I could stay through the pay-per-view, and I was like, and I get to travel with you guys and be like part of the group. I was like, this is like a dream come true for a wrestling fan. And I always thought it was like this kind of like parallel with the movie, like because I always kind of felt like that guy in the movie. You know what I mean? Like he was a little young, like behaved a little younger than I did, but we were very similar in a weird way of like loving wrestling. So then, so then that was the kind of the clincher that I could tour with them for 2 weeks and go all across America. My schedule was free, and I was, it was. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane with Hulk Hogan, and I'm sitting. He's telling me stories, and Sting pops his head between the two seats. It's like, what are you reading? And I was like, what am I reading? Like, he was just joking with me. It was like really one of the highlights of my life.
So, I mean, wrestling is such an ego-driven business, but I think people also perceive Hollywood to be this very ego-driven business. I think it needs to be said. I think it needs to be out there and clear that you did not want to win the championship. You did not want to win the title.
Yeah, but I also could have said no. I mean, I didn't really know how much I could have said no. Like, I'm an actor, so people tell me, like, here's your role, and this is what you read, and this is where you stand. And then we bring our little pieces into it and say, well, what if blah, 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 blah. But I didn't really think, like, I could have said no, but then I just wouldn't have been able to, be a part of it.
But the equivalent is on a Hollywood set. You read the script and you say to the director, yeah, I don't think my character would do this. And that's not really how it works.
Well, sometimes you say that and then like you shut the set down for about a half hour debating like why, or you like find little ways of doing it anyway or not doing certain things. There's little tricks to it. Like, okay, can you play it more like, you're sadder about this? Oh, yeah, okay. And then you just sort of do it the same way. And they're like, listen, can you really try to be a little sadder about this? Like, oh, okay, like emotionally sad. I got it. And then you kind of do it the same thing. And if you just keep doing that for so long, then they're just going to have to move on at some
Because they're going to
point.
run out of time and money, right?
Yeah, but that's like a dick way of doing that. You know what I mean? So you should talk about that stuff before you get to the scene on that day so that you don't slow production down. And then in this case, I don't know. I did say it was a terrible idea, but we just never knew it was going to be taken as bad as it was. We thought people would be more on the like, haha, this is fun, like ridiculous. But the like discrediting the belt and the legacy and the fact that it was held by all these different people and that it was me or something. And that I was like an actor from Hollywood who wasn't like perceived as being tough at all or anything, just this goofy guy. I mean, I still think like if it was Vin Diesel, you know what I mean? People have been a little bit more like, oh yeah, but I could fuck Vin Diesel up.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like, that's what my point is, like, oh yeah, really? You know, God bless Vin Diesel. I love the guy. I mean, he thinks he's incredible, but you know, who knows? You know, Scott Conn could probably beat up anybody in Hollywood. The guy's like a 3rd-degree jiu-jitsu black belt, but nobody knows that.
He also has great hair too.
He does. He loves his hair.
Did you realize like instantly, oh my God, this was a terrible idea? Or did it take a while for, the backlash to hit you?
Oh, after we had done it? Yeah, no, like people were throwing stuff. Like it was like, get him out of here. It was like, uh-oh, we awoke a dragon. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bad scene.
You certainly didn't think that 20 years later, we'd still be talking about this thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. I didn't even think like, I thought it would be more of a comedy spot, but it obviously, like when it comes to something that as important as the belt, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, really. I really just wanted to be a part of the guys. You know what I mean? Why I did this whole movie in the first place, to be like, just respected, not looked at as like some pussy. Like, I don't know. It makes me so mad still. Like, there's difference between guys that have been in fights before, you know what I mean, who don't take getting pushed around, and people that do. And not to say that I'm like this tough guy, and I've walked away from plenty of fights and not, but there's also like just something, and like I don't know, even though people get a glimpse of who I am in this movie, it's only a glimpse. You know what I mean? They don't see some of the real crazy stuff that I've gone through in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that if this had been the cruiserweight title, if this had been the TV title, I don't think they would have cared as much in terms of the promotion, but they certainly wouldn't have cared as much in terms of the legacy of that belt.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. And that's also why when I was first told, I was like, what are you talking about? This is crazy. But I also was like, one of the things that was in my head was that I'm kind of like the first fan that had become the champion. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like a fan that's become the champ. I was like, I'm like the first. I said to Vince Russo, I think I'd be like the first Mark that'd ever be the champion. And he's like, what are you kidding? We're all Marks. And then I was like, oh, but that's not a term that people like or something. But essentially, it's aside from a mark, not that, but we're fans. We're all fans. And that's one thing like that leads us all into this business, is that you love it. You love wrestling. You've always loved it. So that's what connects everybody.